that it's like you have to kind of reprogram some things and change that, or is it?
I think anytime you're essentially switching positions, it's not necessarily a program thing here, there, or wherever. I think he's just done a really good job of trying to learn the defensive end position, 3 technique and 2-eye and in the nickel package. So, that's going to be a continued process for him to develop.
You mentioned in the spring Matt Henningsen being a freak athletically in the classroom. Just we've seen some outside companies really embrace that. So the degree partnership he's got, being a 4.0 student and everything like that.
Right.
What's he like in the room, in the meeting rooms, kind of leading the guys and helping them kind of reach that level on the football field?
Yeah, I think he's everything you'd want, and kind of that veteran leader in the room. Very smart guy that cares about what we do, how we do it, cares about the group. A lot of times, like right now, we'll go up, we're going to staff as a defense. He'll get those D linemen up there and they'll watch the tape before we even come in as coaches and make the corrections. A lot of times I'm walking in the room and they're like, I already know, coach, I already know, right? And so he's doing a great job of driving that, making it more of a player-driven, right, than a coach-driven type of room. So excited for the leadership that he brings, that he demands out of the guys. And he can certainly do that, right? Because he's a very low to zero mental error guy, and really appreciate with which how he approaches the game, approaches practice, approaches the off-season work, right? He just does a great job consistently across the board.
Rodas Johnson and James Thompson Jr. got a lot of reps with the twos. They're, don't have a lot of game experience, obviously, but can you share what stands out about each of those guys that you feel like they could provide?
Well, I think Rodas has got a certain twitch. He's got a quickness. He's got a burst to the ball that can, he can run, he can make plays. Like his ability to work edges, right? When he trusts it and he goes, he can really press the feet of those offensive linemen in the pass rush. And so he affects the pocket. He does some very disruptive things. He's just got to be able to relax in a way, right, and come out here and eliminate some of the mental pieces where, like, in my opinion right now, we've talked, right, he's pressing too much. He can relax. He's going to have a role. He's going to be traveling, right? Now he's just got to work on the details of becoming, right, becoming a consistent football player. But physically, he shows all those traits of being disruptive, quick, powerful up front, can run to the football. James is a big, strong, long guy, trying to be smart with his return right now. But the same thing, he's got a physicality. He's got a natural kind of understanding of how to work edges of guys. He can use his length to create leverage. And so, another really smart guy as well. So, again, excited to give those guys reps. Excited to see them, come out and compete every day.
I'll say, with apologies being asked to see with Keanu, didn't see him out there. Like, how did you see Bryson look out there within the first team, and how have you seen him starting to grow along those lines too, and going into his fourth year?
Like I told the room, nobody's spot is given or secured. You're going to earn it. And so a little bit by seniority for him, kind of being the next man up, give him the first crack at taking advantage of those reps. And, as I've said, I think yesterday his practice was as sudden as I've ever seen him in terms of his footwork, his strike, pressing blockers up front versus catching and stopping his feet. I think that's what's gotten him hurt a lot in the past, is kind of catching, peeking, and trying to read versus just attack, right? Run through a guy and be disruptive and, handle your business, right, the structure of the defense. Not saying go rogue, but you can do those things and still be disruptive and get off up front. So I really like where the group overall is trending, but like where he's taking advantage of the reps that he's gotten.
With Keanu, do you foresee him being out for long or whatnot? Or
he'll be back tomorrow.
He'll be back tomorrow. Gotcha.
All right.
You knew you had a lot of talent in the room, but not a lot of guys who had played. You talked about it last week, other than Henny and Mullins a little. And
Yep.
Keanu. You feel a lot better about what you have based on what you've seen a week and a half in. Like you're building enough depth that you think you can be effective in the way that you envision this group is capable of.
Yeah, and I think I've tried to sell it, and I think I've tried to back it up out here by giving guys those reps and saying you're going to get the opportunity. What you do with it is up to you. And again, you're either going to earn the right for more reps or less reps. And I like the fact right now when you sit back big picture and not try to look too far ahead, but when you're starting to say, hey, we're only going to travel X, who's that going to be? And I think those are great problems to have, where there's going to be some good football players. They're not going to be eating chowder on Friday night with the team. And so hopefully that continues to motivate that group. Again, this isn't personal. It's just, it is based on your production. It's based on what you do every single day, earn your keep. So, but yes, to answer your question, I do think we're getting to the point where we're cultivating some depth and some competition where I think it's going to be a challenge to say who's up, who's the two, who's this, who's that, and those are great things. And so it's a compliment to them where they've been consistent and they've continued to work and build, and they do a great job with each other, coaching each other up, pushing each other, and obviously that's going to pay huge dividends for us this fall.
In terms of just I was talking to Rodas yesterday, and he was just mentioning how in terms of defensive line, it's more instead of maybe necessarily a two gap type responsibilities that you talked about attacking earlier, but it's like attacking and then maybe having the linebackers flow off of the penetration. How is in terms of the strategy of the defensive line maybe even shifted a little bit compared to even last year?
I didn't coach D-line last year,
okay, gotcha.
So I know what I'm being asked to do and coach, and that's what I'm going to do. So,
Gotcha.
We're going to get after it up front.
We got time for one more, guys.
I was gonna say with Isaiah Mullins, just how I know looks like he's been receiving the first team reps at defensive end. Just how, especially trying to find someone to solidify next to Henningsen, on the other side. How has he looked in this first week of camp to you?
I think the last couple of days he's really trended and built on each practice and gotten better. I think he's a guy we need to get in pads. He's a guy that needs to get some of those reps up front. He's been here a long time, but some of those game reps, again, he hasn't got as many game reps as say Keanu, and certainly not as many as Hendog. So he's certainly above, you'd say, the rest of that group, but he's still in that same group of guys that needs football reps, needs to continue to work on his technique, work on his pad level. But again, a guy who, in my opinion, the last 2-3 days has really answered the bell in terms of putting them in positions. He played some nose today where I thought, he came out and played physical and did some really good stuff. So again, I'm trying to give guys opportunity across the board, right? We're looking for the best. I don't know if we're going to travel 6, if we're going to travel 7. I'm going to push for as many guys we can travel. But as you guys know, when you get on the road, right, you got to have some guys that can swing positions for you. So again, the more they can do, the more they can add to their toolbox. I think that helps them and it helps us as a defense.